Hey, this is Elijah with the Oxygen team, and in this video, I'm excited to show you what's new in Oxygen 3.5. Oxygen 3.5 is a release that introduces two new features. The first is copy to and clear styles for selectors, and the second is custom attributes for elements. So let's jump right in and take a look at copy to and clear styles for selectors. So here I am in Oxygen in a quick layout I put together, and I have some elements down below where I've created them and applied styles to the IDs. And if you're familiar with Oxygen, if you click an element here, you'll notice that up at the top of the properties pane, you'll see the ID of the element. This is the ID selector. If you click this and there are any classes applied, there will be classes listed here. And so to illustrate this feature, I'm going to run through a scenario. I've created this icon list using only IDs, and now I want to adjust, say, the color of the icon. Right? So I can click the icon and I can adjust the color here. Say I want it to be purple instead of white. And that changes only the icon I have selected because when I was setting this up, I forgot to use a class and instead applied the styles to the ID, which is a little bit problematic when you've already built out a number of elements that need to share some styles. So with copy to and clear styles, this is easy to fix. So I'm just going to go up to this and I'm going to add a class called icon. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to add that class to all of these other icons as well. So we'll just start typing that name and it's going to show up in the suggested classes list. And right now this isn't going to make a difference because we don't have any styles on the class just yet. But we're going to make an adjustment once we have this class on all of these icons. So now we have the class on all of the icons. We can go back up to this one where we changed the color, and let's go back to the ID. And let's say we want to change the icon size to something like 24 instead of 22. And so now we want all the other icons to match those styles. So we added the class. Now we just need to click our selector drop down here. And you'll find a few new icons here next to the selectors. The trash can icon functions the same as the previously visible red X icon did, meaning it deletes the selector. So you can delete classes. You cannot delete IDs from elements. The eraser icon is going to clear all styles from that selector. And then the copy icon is going to allow you to copy all styles from one selector to another. So in this case, since we have our styles on our ID and we want to apply them to this class, we're going to click the copy icon. And it shows that it's in a copy state by lighting up, and it dims the selector we're copying from. Then we can select the selector that we'd like to copy the styles to. So we'll click on icon. Perfect. So now all of our styles are moved over to the class, but we still have a problem. In CSS, styles applied to an ID take precedence over styles applied via a class. So we need to get rid of those ID styles on these icons. So we're going to go up here and we're going to use the eraser icon here on the ID to get rid of the ID styles. Okay, so we'll click OK there, and then we just need to repeat that for these other icon elements here. And you'll see that our class style starts taking over on those icon elements. And we'll just complete that for these last two here. And the final one. And there we go. We now have transferred the icon styling completely over to class-based styling. So now we can go in here and we adjust the colors of all the elements at once and leverage that great class power that Oxygen users are familiar with. And we can also adjust any other settings here, and they will be applied to all of the icons because we've transferred over to using a class. And this can be done with any element in Oxygen. So for cases where you think you're only going to need one of an element, so you style it with the ID, but you end up duplicating it later and you realize, I don't want to go back and adjust the styles on each of these individually, you can easily transfer everything over to class-based styling and avoid the issues of having to style each element by its ID. So that's the copy to and clear styles for selectors feature. Now we'll talk briefly about custom attributes for elements. So let's select this heading here and let's go to advanced. And you'll find a new item in this menu called attributes. You go to attributes and click add attribute. What this does is allows you to add HTML attributes to elements. This is a slightly more advanced feature, and most of the time when you're doing this, you're going to be working with JavaScript, whether it's JavaScript you've written that's looking at those HTML attributes, or you're going to be working with an external library that needs attributes on elements to apply effects. Attributes also have use in some accessibility applications as well. So you can add any attribute here. So we can add something like data sandwich. And then for the type, we'll put club, right? So that's the value. So now we have a data sandwich club attribute added to this element. So now if we jump over to the front end and we inspect that element, let's right click this. And then you will see in the HTML here that this headline now has a data dash sandwich attribute. So really, there are a lot of ways this can be used. It's fairly open-ended, and folks that like to get their hands dirty with JavaScript should really appreciate this feature. Now, another cool aspect of this is that you can use Oxygen's dynamic data to populate both the key and the value fields for custom attributes. And on top of these two new features, we also fixed a lot of bugs, a few which have been around for a little while. So you should enjoy increased stability, fewer bugs, and the power of these brand new features in Oxygen 3.5. So again, this is Elijah with the Oxygen team, and that's what's new in Oxygen 3.5. Thank you very much for watching.